when I first started, I was like comparing it to athletes. So you got and Lester, you too. This is and the artist talk, the mindset, and because I want to bring in LeBron and Brady. That's the only reason I'm going to athletes. But it's the same mindset that Lester brought earlier. It's about not cheating it and doing it, not just because you need to do it and because you're in a rut or because you got to. It's because it's really the right decision to do for you and finding that reason. So LeBron choosing to play again and that whole speech that he gave at the ESPYs about not cheating the game. He's playing for the love of it as he had as a kid, as the desire and the motivation he had as a kid. That is the reason he's playing. Tom Brady, I don't see it the same. Tom Brady, I see it's just that competitive drive that fuels him, that he lives for, that he just always has to keep winning. It's two completely different things, but it still pushes them the exact same way to be at the same levels. You know what I mean? But it's like without that main thing to continuously push you, and if it changes from that to money one day, which is what I feel with David Copperfield is, it changes how you perform and how you act, how you attract, how everything around you. Once you change the way you do, the reason you're doing it, it changes not just what you're putting out, but people who are receiving it. I feel.
And that's a great point, even just to bring that into the artist thing, because that's something that me and Quincy definitely can relate to, and I know I can speak for him on this, just because when we seen basically like the type of artist slash person you have to be to get a label deal slash to kind of thrive in like a label deal kind of situation, we kind of realized like, nah, bro, like this is not for us. You know what I'm saying? We're a certain type of person. We're a certain type of artist. You know what I mean? And this is like, you kind of see the writing on the wall for certain situations where you're like, nah, this is not going to feed me. This is not going to be something that 10 years from now I'm going to be proud that I'm in this situation. I forgot who told me, and it's funny, man, now that I think about it, it might have even been one of the people in the situation that I didn't want to be in. There was like, yo, you got to think about like whatever you're establishing right now, as far as like you as an artist or whatever, like you're moving forward with, like that's what you like. If it catches on, that's what
you gotta hold it.
That's gonna be basically like your proof that, okay, this is what works for me. That's what you're gonna have to keep doing. And it's like, is that what you want to do? You want to keep doing, like, you know what I'm saying? That's why like a lot of people, they try to take stabs at like trendy things, and there's a way you can be trendy but true to you, or you can just be trendy just to try to see if something sticks. And the people that just try to be trendy to see if something sticks, that never works. You might be able to find a way to get on, quote unquote, but you're gonna have to keep doing that kind of formula to succeed. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to kind of get out of that once you're in that lane, because you're basically, if you come in trendy, that's what you're there. That's who you are. You're trendy. And it kind of goes back to when I was talking to my brother about just like, creating from an authentic place. Not letting like not letting the demand of content kind of dictate what you're doing. It kind of made us talk about like certain artists and stuff, and just people that we listen to, or people that have recently dropped projects where it's like you just hear like that that's it for them just because they were on a wave. You know what I'm saying? And it's like once you kind of extract all the juice out of that, and then you kind of show that you're not like there's nothing to you behind that, you really kind of just you're hung out to dry at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and that's one of the things I said. It's like when you go into a decision, at least for me, I go into it like, all right, I'm deciding on something that I can't go back from.
Facts.
Because that's big. You can't just do something off a whim and not even consider it. What if this doesn't work? You have to consider it, and not like, okay, I'll just go back. Nah, it's not that easy, champ.
Especially when you're actually going full force into it. You know what I mean? Because if you're deciding to do something, but then you don't put no action to it, then it don't even matter because you wasn't gonna do nothing either way. But when you really about to do something, you really got to think about what you're doing. Because something that I like, and something we were talking about as far as like getting better equipment and stuff like that's something I will fall prey to in my younger days. You know what I mean? Like when I start to do something, the first thing I'm thinking about is like, how can I get the best of the best equipment to do what I want to do, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And instead of saying, where can I get the knowledge for this? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking at the best equipment first, and then how do I work this? Instead of how do I, what's the concept behind how all this works, and then getting equipment from there. You know what I mean?
I wanted to buy a DJ coffin case. I said, how much better am I gonna get with my case? I don't need a fucking coffin case yet.
Yo, Les, you said something earlier, bro. And I had something on my mind that I wanted to say, but I completely we went down a whole nother rabbit hole. But I wanted to make a point to something that, with having my nieces and nephews here, we obviously it's summer, you know what I mean? So they got plenty of time. And they, I noticed they spend a lot of time on YouTube, just watching random stuff on YouTube. And, so my fiance, she sat them down and was talking to the oldest girl and was like, you want to watch Alice in Wonderland? And the girl was like, yeah, like, I guess, the conversation they had, she was like, yes, And so Robin puts on the old Alice in Wonderland, and the whole day they had kind of been watching YouTube videos, bouncing around. YouTube videos are like 10, 15 minutes. They don't hold their attention that long. Bouncing around, going back and forth. She put on Alice in Wonderland, and it had all of their attention the whole movie. And I was like, dang, man, to really think about it, like how old Alice in Wonderland is. But going back to your point, and this is where it came up, how good of a cartoon for kids that it was when it was made compared to the options that we have now. You know what I'm saying? And I just thought that was so dope. And also as kids, they're not thinking this looks old. It's a cartoon. They're not even processing it like that. So I thought that was dope.
Bruh, do you know what that reminded me of? And it goes perfectly into what you're saying, Pause, is, remember the book by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree?
Yeah, I remember The Giving Tree.
So my wife, I think she recognized it after, but she didn't know what it was, and then my kids never heard of it or anything either. So like a few years ago, I bought it on Amazon, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna read it. Like, I'm gonna read it to everybody. Like, we're gonna read this book together. And they were kind of like, I wouldn't say skeptical, but like they didn't see the importance the way I saw the importance, because the book is very deep, but it's like it looks like a little like kids book. You know what I mean? And if y'all haven't read it, like, it's not long. It's not a hard book to read or anything. You know what I'm saying? It's a short, short little text with a little animation. Like, the story is like, it's just a beautiful story. And when I read them the story, like, it hit them the way that I was hoping that it would hit them. You know what I mean? And it goes back to what you were saying, Quincy. It's like, that's an old book. The drawings are like scribblings. There's not a lot of writing in it. You know what I mean? But it was just authentic, and it was just a great story. You know what I mean? And it just worked because of that.
See, dope. Super dope.
So they say they don't make things like they used to.
Yeah, and that's specifically a truth in the sense of, like, it's not a thing that we're just saying from like, oh, we old heads, that's how we feel. It's specifically a truth. Just for example, you talking about a time when you could take, 10 years to do a movie. You know what I'm saying? 3 years was regular, 4 or 5 years. Like, you talking about, content was harder to produce, and you had to put more money behind it. So people had to really be behind all the steps of it, and it had to be like completely fleshed out and something captivating. You know what I'm saying? And then you had to have people working on it to make it the best thing possible. And they were taking the time because you were allowed the time. Yeah. It's not like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's part of the reason why I ran into this issue. And that's something that my brother kind of opened my eyes to, where it's like, I'm creating content because I know I got to create content. and I'm not just creating anymore. I'm creating like just because I'm trying to create content. Like the stuff I was making before, I wasn't thinking about like specifically like what am I making this for. I was just making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like grabbing that and still tying it into we do live in the now times, you know what I'm saying? Like things have changed. Like you don't get the same kind of time, but you can find a way to make it work as long as it's authentic to you, you know what I'm saying? And authentic to the people you speaking to. Cause for me it's like even that's even why like for me I don't really care about age when it comes to music because my music is not tied to an age, you know what I'm saying? The way I look or how young or how old I am doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? I saw Frank Sinatra sing till he was, damn near dying. You know what I'm saying? In his 70s, up on stage, forgetting lyrics because his mind wasn't all there. But whenever, whenever it would connect, he still had it. There was a story that I had seen. One of these little clips that go around. Somebody that was like I don't know if he was an agent. He was somebody that was close with Sinatra, and he was at one of his last shows. Sinatra's performing, and towards the end of that run, he was already older. He was already, he was losing a little bit of he wasn't all there. So he's singing a song, and he kind of forgets it halfway through, and he kind of like is looking around. He's like looking kind of embarrassed, and he just can't find it. Like he can't figure out where he was or what he needed to sing. And the band kind of winds down, and they kind of stop playing, and he's just kind of there, like, oh, like just in few words, like, oh, sorry, like he kind of can't even find the words to say, and then just a random guy in the back gets up and starts clapping, and he just basically says something along the lines of, "Don't worry, Frank, we all love you. Don't worry." And he just is clapping. Everybody else starts clapping. He gets like a jolt of like life, and he remembers, and he starts. The band kicks back up. He starts singing again, and the guy that was telling the story was basically saying, and I'm gonna get the details of the story for the next episode because I want to do it justice to all the people involved, even. But basically the guy was saying that guy, he's like that guy don't even know it, but he brought him to life for the rest of that tour. Like that gave him what he needed to finish that tour, and the spark to like really like he needed to know that it was still there.
Yeah, that's dope.
Let me let Fluff out real quick, man. He keep looking at me and looking at the door, looking at me, looking at the door. Give me a second.
Yeah, nah,
He
man.
held true though. See, he held true to what his shit was. He didn't try to new for it or cover it up or switch it up.
Yeah.
He held true to what he knew how to do, and it was sing for motherfuckers, and he did that till he couldn't no more.
And that's what makes him so. We're still talking about Frank Sinatra. That's what makes him so damn dope. You know what I'm saying? Just as a artist, as a person, I feel like a lot of times, especially we hear the music, but people are fans of the artist, and I feel like that's why Frank Sinatra has such a large following, because like once you learn about him, I learned about Frank Sinatra so late, man. Actually, Lester put me on to Frank Sinatra like maybe 5 years ago, maybe. You know what I'm saying? And since then, I've definitely gotten more knowledgeable about him, and you can just sense, man, that like he was just a very authentic man, and the way he wrote his music and the way he even sung his music, it came from his soul. You know what I'm saying? Like it was authentic, and you don't find that. You know what I'm saying, that often.
That dude was iconic. He was talented, bro. Like I didn't know much about him at all. At all. Like I didn't even know there was an original Ocean's 11 movie before Clooney and these motherfuckers made it.
You would love his story and just like a lot of like documentaries, movies, all that stuff tied in because like Quincy said, bro, he was just so authentic and so transparent, and he was just like this guy where he was like, it's like almost like he had this bravado to him, but at the same time he kind of almost didn't believe that he was really Frank Sinatra. He was really that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was such an interesting thing to me of like the thing with Sinatra too was like when he came out and he was like the young up and coming guy, he was hot, and then he went through a real long cold period. You know what I'm saying? Like he went through this real long period where it was like he wasn't hip anymore. He came out at a certain time with a certain style, and then like in the in between stage, he was trying to find his way into the new sound, and he was just sounding like a fool. And it was like he was like you're saying, Joe. He was tarnishing that legacy, like for a long time, bro. Like Sinatra has a period in there, dog. That like you even as a Sinatra super fan, bro, you could try to like the music, and there's like you can't.
That's what
like,
that's what I was talking to Quincy about when you're hopping back on. I was like, because I didn't, like I said, I don't know much. I was like, oh, but he held true, right? He just held true all the way till he couldn't do it no more. But now I didn't know that side of the story.
Yeah, like he had this time where he kind of lost his voice. You know, he kind of felt like he couldn't find like he didn't have the connections with like the conductors and producers and musicians that he had with before, and it took him a while to like find his voice again, and even like to get to a point where he did a song like My Way, where it was just him basically saying like where he feels like he faltered, things he could have done better. You know, the My Way is just basically like, yo, you know, this is what happened, but at the end of the day, I did it my way. You know what I'm saying? And just hearing like the reflection in the verses and the way he wrote it, and even like a lot of the statements that he said, like one part of that song that really resonates with me is he's like, you know, there was times where he bit off more than he could chew, but through it all, he was always the one to say the words of somebody that doesn't kneel, which basically he's saying like, I stood on what I said, I did what I did. You know, it might not have been the right thing, but I wasn't faking it. You know what I mean? So it does tie into what you're saying, Joe, where he was transparent about, hey, I was trying to find my sound again. I was trying to find my way back in because, you know, the music industry basically turned on him. You know what I mean? And just him finding that resurgence later in his career, and just fully accepting I'm an older man, and I'm not gonna be the hot young guy no more, but I still got a story to tell. You know what I mean? Like it was a dope part of like his character arc, and like I said, I feel like it's somebody / something that you'll be really interested in is like that Frank Sinatra story.
Right. Yeah,
There's
I'm
a
not
2-part
against it, I
documentary
just
about
never-
him on Netflix that's super dope. Super dope.
I'll add it to
Because
my
it
list
even
for
shows
sure.
him in the studio and like his process of how he made music, and he even gets into that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an overall like a general what's it called, like documentary, but it's mainly focused on him like making music. So it's super dope.
Nah, I'm a peep. Everything I know about Sinatra's from Jay-Z, and I love Jay-Z. Like I said, I've never been against it. I just never done a deep dive in it.
Yeah, I feel like, and it kind of goes to like the Larry Sanders thing, man. Like, it's hard, like for a lot of people, and I'm not saying you obviously because you watched Larry Sanders show before, but like for a lot of people, you tell them something like that, and they can't get past the oldness of it or the date that's on it, and that's something with a lot of people, which is why the trendy stuff works, because people are always looking at the new. As opposed to like, and even it's funny, man, because I saw a clip the other day where Timberland was talking about like when you're chasing the hits, like it don't last. You know what I mean? Like as far as when it comes to music, and it kind of goes to like what we're talking about. Like you can be trendy and you can be making money and you could be out there, and like there's nothing wrong with that because there's a lane for that. And if that's you, you know, you can make a lot of money doing that. But then at the end of the day, you know, like for me with music, I want to be that one where like, when you know, 60 years old, you're trying to put your grandson, your granddaughter on my music, like, yo, this is real music, like, and it's still hitting, you know what I mean? Like, I want a dude like me to be talking about, you know, my music the way I talk about Sinatra's music now, you know what I'm saying? Like, Sinatra passed, I believe, in 91, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, he passed away, like, when I was, like, 2 years old, dog. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still following his career and really tapped into what he did and like the story that he had, and you know what I'm saying, is something that's long gone.
Yeah. And shoot, still living. Like I said, man, he passed in 91, and I found out about him in what, 2018, 17 maybe, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now, you made a good point earlier, and I just want to clarify. First of all, I'm a conversation remember. I remember every single thing that's ever written in the chat. So when you said that about Larry Sanders, you said it a second time, and nobody said nothing the first time. So that's why I responded to it. Larry Sanders show did make an impact on me. I remember that show vividly. It was a great show. I grew up watching old shit, bro. I remember being in the kitchen with my mom, and she had I don't remember if you remember the comic Dagwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember Dagwood? Like they had Dagwood Sound where there was a real life show of it, and it was in black and white.
Oh,
And that's
I
one of the
didn't know
only
that.
channels we can get clear, bro. She would play that every day, and that was like a show like I followed. So watching old stuff like that always sits well with me. Like I love watching old stuff. That's a good feeling.
Facts.
Seeing that stuff and appreciating like because when you see something that's too new, like that's how I feel like the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show. I'm like it just looks too.
I get what you're saying. I know
new.
exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I mean?
It's like too shiny almost.
Yeah, it draws away from. That's why I like those old
Bro.
shows. It's easy on the eyes. It's easy to watch. It's not like shining at me visually and audio, sonically, whatever. One of those things.
See that guy right there? You see him? Right here,
Hey,
where I'm
Arnold.
pointing at?
Hey Arnold, yeah.
That's exactly how I feel about that show, dog. That I see Hey Arnold now, bro. That thing came out in the 90s. And aside from the fact that, like I said, it's an older show, different animation style, the stories, the dialogue, the jokes, the arcs, the characters, it still hits. You can literally, and I've told plenty of people, and they've always come back and told me that they 100% agree. You could go back and watch that as a grown person and watch the whole Hey Arnold series and enjoy it thoroughly and still come away with things like, dang, man, that was deep. You know what I'm saying? And it goes back to what we're talking about. And even just like something when you're creating, like for anybody, no matter what you're doing, it's like the reason why that throwback stuff feels good is because it's the stuff that has stood the test of time. You know what I'm saying? And things that stand the test of time, it's literally timeless. And when you're talking about timeless means that it works in any time. You know what I'm saying?
Bars.
Time doesn't affect it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're striving for that, you're gonna do good. You know what I mean? You're always gonna find, you know, you might not find that success right away, but you're on the right path. You're on the right thread. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I was listening to a comedian today just talking about like trying his hand at like one of the best amateur nights, like just starting out, but it's because he wanted to know if he had it. You know what I mean? And then it's like people when he went, they were like, yo, you know, you got something. You're not funny yet, but keep at it and you'll get there. You know what I mean? And it's that thing. It's the thing that we always talked about from the beginning of this show. Like, people don't want to get in that part right there. Like, that's muddy water. You know what I'm saying? That's quicksand. That's hard. You know, that's the hard part right there. That's the obstacle course. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to do that period because that's the most vulnerable part, because you're going to be making your worst content no matter what the content is. You're gonna be making a lot of times your worst body of work with that first thing that you're just kind of trying to work out the kinks, and you still have to put it out there like if it's your best body of work. That's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, for a lot of people, that's hard, especially nowadays with the social media and you seeing what everybody else is doing, and you seeing like how people make things look. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to well, I still do, but I follow the skateboarder, bro, that he's a really good skateboarder, like one of the best in the world. He was just like he was like one of the first like internet Johnny Geiger's his name. He was one of the first guys. Yep, and he was one of the first guys that came up off the internet as far as skateboarding, but like skateboarding is one of those things like that we've talked about before. Like it's a real grind, and like it's you got to be authentic to make it. He was one of the first like online guys to like really make it like on that scale. Like, nah, he's a real skater. You know what I'm saying? He's doing Battle at the Barracks this year, which is a big deal. It's like a big tournament that they do, which kind of like horse, but with skateboarding.
Yeah,
and it's like
that shit
all
is
the biggest
awesome.
skateboarders, bro. They do it, and he's there this year. But anyway, he lives. I don't know where he lives or where he lived when he was doing this content, but was at a skate park with like a mountain range in the background. So when you would see his skateboarding clips, bro, it was like the fact that he was so dope and then he was there too. It was like, oh my gosh, like it was just like a chef's kiss, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like if you're just like a regular skateboarder starting out and you're going to a little rinky dink skate park near your crib, or maybe you just going to a parking lot, you might not find a way to say, oh, I'm gonna post these clips. You know what I'm saying? Because you're comparing yourself to that guy. You know, and that's a hard way to create, you know, when you're just in that vulnerable state. You know what I mean? Like that internet world even is not conducive to like being creative as far as like, you know, I feel like a lot of people say you could draw inspiration and you can you know, figure out techniques, new ways, like the information's at your fingertips, which is a great thing. But I feel like a lot of that stuff is stuff that you kind of need to work through yourself anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about that? Like, do you think when you create, you have to make the mistakes, or you can try to avoid them as much as you can?
Both. I feel like you can try to avoid them as much as you can, but the mistakes is where that's what makes you good. You know what I'm saying? Like you learn through the mistakes and you get better and you grow and you become, you know what I'm saying, a more polished artist. You know, I think that, you know, I think we had a conversation the other day talking about some of the stuff that we went through 4 or 5 years ago, you know, and how it's shaped us as artists today. You know what I'm saying? And we still got lessons to learn and things that are going to happen, you know what I mean, that continues to shape us. But obviously the goal is to try to avoid, you know, those situations as much as possible. But when you know, hit those, you know, rocks or bumps in the road and take those L's, you learn from them, you grow from them. You don't continue to make the same mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to mistakes is learning from them and not continuing to make the same mistakes.
What do you
Facts.
think, Joe? Do you think you have to like you have to work through all the mistakes,
Bro.
or can you avoid them and kind of still get to that?
Give you a prime example, tie off what you were just finishing with before that. X Games was running all week. Did you watch any of it?
I watched some clips and a couple runs from the skateboarding.
Oh, so woman, what was it? The woman's skate park. 13-year-old little girl, bro, won the gold,
Wow.
and she
went
flopped in
ham.
her runs, and it wasn't until her last run where she went all out, and then during like the high quarter pipe, they brought her over for an interview, which I'm gonna get into that too. And they asked her, bro, little 13-year-old blonde girl, super cute, bro, and she can shred that whole fucking thing. So they're like, you know, what were you thinking in that last run? She's like, because I messed up and because I fucked up, I knew I had to give it all and just bring everything I could, like my last shot, to try to win it, and that's why I just kept pushing it. So she had to take that L. She would have, if not, she might have been too comfortable going in that final run, might have not gone as hard, not found that motivation to do it. And in the high vert quarter pipe, I think, oh yeah, her name was Chloe Cavell. The quarter pipe, Colby Raha, right? So last year he broke the record. Like they take the dirt bike and go up a ramp and see how high they can go and come back down on the dirt. I think he broke the record last year for like 49 feet. Bro, everybody came out there breaking that record on their first try, and he was just like soft. You could tell he was not taking risks. He didn't want to take no L's. He was playing it safe, and he was the last dude to go, and he fucking took that risk, bro. He gave it all. He ended up breaking his record by like 10 feet. He won the gold again, And he took and they asked him the same thing. He's like, I knew that was it. He's like, I knew that was it. Everybody else already beat what I did last year. He's like, and that pushed me to just take that risk, bro. And I think it's the motivation from a loss, a bounce back, that pushes you a little harder to take the next risk.
No, definitely. It definitely I don't, and it's so interesting, bro, because it's like everybody got to get beat up a little. You know what I mean? And it's funny because, like, for example, we were talking about kids and everything. Like, that's something that, like, my wife kind of has a hard time with, like, understanding that, like, the kids need a little, like, pushback. You know what I'm saying? If they don't feel any pushback and they don't gotta, like, you know, dig within themselves in certain situations, like, it's not good. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, everybody needs a little bit of pushback and resistance. And like we talking about, like, you need to take some L's to kind of learn what you need to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of goes back to like this DMX lyric that I like a lot. It's in the I Can Feel It. The joint that he did was like the Phil Collins sample, the In the Air Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And he says in the song, like in the first verse, he's like, "Got to put you on your ass to see what it does to you when you stand up and see that I'm just showing love to you." You know, and he basically just saying, like, you know, that to a certain point, that tough love is necessary to give. You know, if somebody's not getting that adversity just naturally, you know, sometimes you need to just kind of put it there to let that person know how it feels like to go. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the same thing, like when you're, let's say, it's a perfect example. Let's tie it right back in with the skateboarding. Like when you're a skateboarder, bro, I remember when I first started skateboarding as a kid, it was a thing of like, you gotta not be scared and just accept that you're gonna fall. If you're scared of falling, you're never, like, you have to break that before anything. You know what I'm saying? That fear of like, oh, if I land wrong, the skateboard's gonna go flying and I'm gonna fall back. Whatever, like that freaky
That's the risk.
Zeke
You're so
clip
focused
where he's
on
like, his legs
the
went
end.
to the side like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're scared of ending up like that, bro, like, you're never gonna like hit the moves the right way. Like, and even for me, like, as an older dude, getting back into it, like in the last few years, because like I'm never gonna be no pro skater or nothing, but I like to be able to hold my own. I like to be able to hit a few gaps at least. You know what I'm saying? I might not be out here doing tricks, but hey, I'll jump the curb. You know what I'm saying? You know, a nice little 6-foot gap or something. I might hit it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on that wave. But even with that, it's like getting back into it. If I'm scared that I'm gonna hit the front of the stair and fall and stuff like that, I'm never gonna hit that gap. Once I let go of that fear, that's when I'm riding better. That's when I'm hitting moves. That's when I'm more confident. That's when I'm stepping on the board like I need to, because I'm not scared of falling no more. And that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about. That's like a physical representation of that ugly period when you're creating, showing people that artwork. You know what I'm saying? For a skateboarder, it's falling. For a creative, it's being vulnerable and showing it. You know.
I feel you.
But yeah, man, this has been a dope episode. It's a little 2-parter. We haven't done one of these in a while where we just kind of let it flow, and you know, it's definitely been, like we've been talking about, like a time period where there's like shifts going on. A lot of us have been like real busy lately, just on like a lot of like the projects that we've been working on, personal stuff, professional stuff, just everyday stuff. It's just one of those times, man, and you
Facts.
know,
My eyes been twitching nonstop for a week. I know I'm moving. My brain's moving. I mean, I'm pushing my brain faster, a lot harder than I should be, bro. It's been a month.
I feel that, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. I don't know if it was off air or what, but it's kind of like weird / dope to me that it's like there's issues like in all of our lives right now, but they're not like real issues when you break it
Nah.
down. You know,
Right.
That
And
stop
it's
us
kinda-
from recording these episodes.
and it's
Right,
funny
right.
because, like, you kind of like get wrapped up into it that you forget like how things were before. You know what I'm saying? Or you forget like you get so wrapped up in your own bullshit that it's like you have that same thing that everybody gets where they're like, you know, looking at their life like it's a movie and it's like, why me? Like, but then when you get back from it, you're like, dang, everything's dope. It's just these couple things I got to tackle a different way. You know what I mean?
Nah, facts.
This show is like therapy, bro. This is, and before I remember, like, if I wasn't feeling something or something, like, I was like, oh, maybe next week. Like, now there's no reason for me not to be able to record a show every week and have this talk. Maybe we have to shift the night for a reason. But outside of that, oh, well, next week, I'm going to be in Orlando next week. Literally, I fly out of here Tuesday night, and I fly home Friday night. So, and I'm not recording that damn room. I'm not recording outside of the studio, but I'm over every week, so we good.
But going back to what you were saying, Joe, and to kind of wrap it up is like, you know, establishing that habit, and it's like just realizing like, okay, we just sit, you know, you can carve out an hour to sit down and talk. You know, it's not impossible. And establishing that the same way all the other habits, good habits we have and the things that we're doing, it's just continuing to set the tone of we're going to do what's necessary to get it done. You know what I mean? And even like the little funk I've been in, like creatively and just like kind of trying to figure out this next round of music and everything, like how I'm really going to attack it as far as releasing and everything like that. It's like at least the issues I'm having is with stuff I've created and things that I've been doing and am doing. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting back, you know, complaining about something that I haven't even started on, you know?
Right.
Like
Right.
I'm over here stressing about this when it's like, you know, the main pressing issue is I have like 15 songs that are ready to go that I'm trying to figure out which ones I'm gonna drop next, how I'm gonna do the content for them and stuff like that. So it's like it's not even like a real problem, but it's that sign that I've been getting comfortable with that I am comfortable with the pace that I've been in, and I've kind of mastered this level. So what am I gonna do to break to that next one, to then look back again, you know, a year from now and say, dang, like it's crazy. I was in those shoes thinking this way, and now, you know what I'm saying? Like it's that build up. It's just making sure that you still add into that build up.
Nah, I feel that. Definitely feel that. Yeah, man. That's real.
But yeah, man, I'm definitely in like a little like retooling stage. So I'm not gonna be dropping anything for like at least like a month. I'm gonna figure out some new stuff. I'm excited though, man. I'm excited to see even what's gonna happen. Like I can't wait to see what I come up with.
Yeah, yeah. Shoot.
That's why I feel you've had. I think, like I said, we've had conversations. You've had some good ideas of things to try that you haven't tried yet, and I'm all for all of them, except for the last one you said. I don't know about that one. That was a little. But for the earlier ones, try it out. Try some out.
Yeah, I think it definitely goes back to the stuff we were talking about, like even the Sinatra stuff, the Copperfield stuff of like just making sure I'm authentic regardless. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't have the solution, but as long as I put that on top, being authentic, it's all gonna work
That'll
out
help
the
you
way it's
pick the
supposed to
right
work
one
out.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, episode 60, well, and 61. Well, no. It's a two-parter, so it's
60 part 1 and 2.
technically just still episode 60. And 60 episodes in, we still butter.
Bye.